Are we live? I think we're live. How's it going, everybody? I'm here. I'm here. Always working. Probably some people will pop in today. I see some people in the chat already, but let me, while I'm thinking of it, let me copy that link. That comes up. I know at least Chase might pop on, and maybe some others. Who knows? Everybody's welcome. So what is this? This is Saturday, the 23rd of April. Going to be starting page 11 today of DvsM 1979. As usual, I've got my cheat sheet, my panel. This is just enough to tell me like the orientation of panels and the numbers of the panels that I'm going to be doing. And I have a bigger document someplace else that spells out the particulars. This is for the first time viewers, but so basically I start a new document, I lay out my panels the way they need to be, I update the little page number at the bottom, I pull in all my visual references, anything I'm going to be looking at while I'm drawing, and then I'm set to go, and that's usually when I log off. Hey, look at, wow, full house today. Squatch is here so we can start. It's official now, guys. We're going. So confession time. So last week, if you watched, you remember, the rule generally is starting a new page each Saturday morning. That's what kind of keeps me producing and more or less on schedule and makes it so I can predict with reasonable accuracy when a comic's going to be done. Last Saturday, I had just still a few hours left. Excuse me, I'm still waking up and I'm caffeinating. I still had a few hours left of work to do on page 9. But I went ahead and started page 10, got it all set up, and then when I logged off, went back to page 9, finished page 9, and then moved on to page 10. So now, getting ready to start page 11 today. Does that mean page 10 is done? No, it's not. It's just like page 9 was. I think a few hours away from being done. Now, last week, I think I had a better excuse. Day job was crazy and stretched me, and I didn't have the kind of comic time I normally expect to have. This week, just get lazy, just lazy. Just, there was one day in particular, I think it was Monday, where I didn't draw at all. That was the problem. And last night, stayed up a little late playing Elden Ring. Look, this is a safe space here. I'm trying to be honest with you. I'm trying to be real. It's all fine. It's all survivable. No matter what, it's going to be on track. So I'm going to, just like I did last week, I'm going to set up page 11. When it's set up, I'm going to log off here. I'm going to finish page 10 and then move forward. And next week, now I'm making myself accountable. Next week, no more of this bullshit, this Bush League bullshit. Next week, Saturday morning, I'm going to be starting page 12, and page 11 is done. It's done. That's it. Okay? Hold me accountable. I want to see you just assaulting me in the comments. If this time next week I'm saying like, page 11, it's almost there, but blah, 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 blah. No. We're not making a habit out of this. This is not going to be the norm. That's right. That's right. Yes, 100%. Okay. So I'm going to start setting up my page. Send me a yes. Fair. Totally. I expect the abuse of the internet if I drop the ball again. I allow, look, I mean, this is a human process. It's a big project. You're drawing for more than a year. Like there's going to be you're going to be ahead sometimes, you're going to be behind sometimes. But 2 weeks in a row of that, it's not acceptable to me. Like this is where I start to feel like no. Like we're trying to make good habits, not bad habits, not always a day late habits. That's not a good habit. So let's see here. I am going to get my Illustrator open. As I talked about last week, I see like the layout that I came up with for page 11. Let's see here. And what I do, because at this point, between 75 and 97 and what I have so far of 79, you know, I have more than 100 pages of DvsM comics. And there's a kind of a basic format I follow with DvsM, where at this point, for most normal pages, whatever that means, I probably have a page from the past that's close to what I want, if not identical, in terms of panel layout. So what I usually do is go through my stuff and find like either the identical layout or the very close layout that then I can kind of mess with and get, you know, what I want. So that's what I'm doing now. So this page, this won't really be interesting to anybody, but there's 6 panels. The middle ones, picture like a normal 6-panel, like 2-2-2 layout, which is kind of my default. Like when in doubt, when there's no reason to have a bigger or smaller panel, I usually do 2-2-2. But this one, the middle one, the first one is much narrower. The second one is wider. So I just pulled a 6-panel one, and I'm gonna move the borders of the middle row of panels. Okay. And I'm not looking at the chat right now. You guys could be running wild because I'm looking at Illustrator and I don't have 2 monitors, but I'm going to check in a second. And then this is the satisfying part of this process for me. Go into the little page number and update page 11. So I'll save as 1979 space 11, the most important part of the process. There have been some terrifying moments where I opened an old page, I reworked it to work for new page, and just absentmindedly hit save and basically saved over whatever that finished old page was. And it's like, undo. But I've gotten better at that. You only have to do that a couple times and you worry about your heart health and you start thinking about doing it right. Oh gosh. Food, thank you. Because I'm still caffeinating, I forgot all about it. So guys, in the description of this video, there's a link. I'm begging and pleading and flirting and cajoling and whatever else I need to do to get you to follow that link to a page where you're going to see a bunch of comic covers on Comix Well Spring, including the pulp cover for DvsM 1997, okay? I'm asking you to scroll all the way down on that page. You'll see little voting links. Basically, I'm asking you to vote for my cover for their like best cover of their little campaign contest, whatever it is. So anyway, don't be fooled by the little links along the way. Scroll all the way down. At the very bottom, there is a big red button that says vote. Click on that. That will take you to a page that has a multiple choice thing and pick Dinosaurs vs Marshbots. Voting is, I think, up until the end of the month. And if I win, I get $150 of credit with my comic printer, which will speed up. You know, I've been talking for a while about getting reprints of 75 and 97 out there, which I do want to do. And the only reason I'm dragging my feet now is because like I want to wait to see if I win this thing It's between 5 of us. And I'm not going to say like, oh, there's some good covers there, but I feel like I'm competitive. I feel like the Pulp 97 cover is strong. So like there's a chance that I could win, which means there's a chance I could get $150 in printing credit from Comix Well Spring, which means, of course, you know, that would make getting reprints out there a no-brainer. So rather than spend my own money right now, I'm waiting to see how this contest goes. If I lose the contest, that doesn't mean there's going to be like no reprints. I'm going to do it, but I'll have to do it out of pocket. If I win the contest, I mean, that's pretty cool. So please, link in the description. You can do it right now while we're streaming and come back. And I would never, one last thing about it. It appears, it seems that you can vote as many times as you want. Now, I would never, ever endorse or recommend or ask anyone to behave in such an unethical way. But it does seem like that's possible. I'm just cautioning everyone. I'm advising everyone that it does seem like you can vote as much as you want. I'm not asking you to do that. But it looks like it's possible. Okay, all right, now we're moving on. Let's see here. The door is open, so you can't see the jazzercise weights, which are not jazzercise weights. They're just like light resistance, like yoga, you know, it's yoga stuff. You can see there's yoga blocks, right? I don't, can you, right there, that's a yoga block. There's a yoga mat that was there, but it's out in the living room right now because I was doing yoga last night, which, since I'm still caffeinating and I'm just talking about anything that pops into my head, I was looking at some old pictures of myself a few years ago, from a few years ago. I was in better shape. I'm not doing too bad. I'm all right, but I was in better shape. And it kind of motivated me. I don't know about you guys, your health journey, your fitness journey, but mine kind of goes like this. And usually what inspires me to be a little more focused on it is seeing a picture of myself, you know, from, and either one of two ways, looking at it and saying like, oh, I looked better. Or I have a couple pictures that I've saved forever because they're motivating, where I look at them and it's like, whoa, I was hitting the Burger King. Like, look at those sausage fingers. Like, so it just that, and recently, yeah, I looked at some pictures of myself where I was doing yoga every day and I was eating right and I was doing all the right things, and there was a difference. There was definitely a difference. Squatchy, let's do, you know what we should do? That would be a great live stream idea. We could all do jazzercise, like with the multiple windows. Like we can get the same thing going, whatever. I don't even know, but like the music going. We'll all dress up in our 80s aerobics outfits. We'll get it done. We'll get it done. I'll have 1 million subscribers overnight. Okay. I'm doing a lot of bullshitting here. I need to get back to setting up my page. BK does go right to my fingers. Seriously, it was a picture. This was years and years ago. It's probably 15 years ago. I was at San Diego Comic-Con with a friend. They took a picture of me, and that's what I noticed. I was out on a balcony. There was one of those sliding glass doors. He was being ridiculous and like closed the door, and I was kind of like this, knocking to come in, and I was looking at this hand. And that was one of those moments where it's like, oh, it's gotten away from me. Let's get physical. Olivia Newton-John is a hero in our time, right? All right. If someone, now, like I said, Chase is probably going to come later. I haven't sent out links yet. I want to wait till I'm all set up. If anybody else is interested in popping in, let me know, and I will get you a link. Awesome. Awesome. I'm glad that, I think, Chase, are you making your YouTube debut today? Yeah, and it's earlier for you. You're in Hawaii, right? We'll talk about it. Don't answer these questions in the chat. We'll talk about it when you're on. Okay. Let me, So, I probably should think this topic through a little bit more before I start talking about it. But hold on. First, I'm gonna get an email ready for Chase to get him the link. Okay. No, this is great. This is great live streaming. Okay. Chase, tell me if nothing comes through if I typed your email wrong and I just invited some rando. I'm glad that Foo gets shit for no reason from Squatch wherever he is, just anywhere, just cuz. Okay, so anyway, the topic I was thinking about, I try to show up to these with at least some little thought. I think you've heard people talk a lot about, I'm going to be working as I do this. I think you've heard people talk about how, I mean, if you follow any kind of creative, there's an idea in your head, what you're trying to do. And then there's whatever comes out. You make the thing. And that is somewhat, that's, I think, why a lot of creators don't get things done. They get frustrated. They're the ones that start and never finish because they have this idea in their head. We've all met this person. They have this idea for the great American novel. They have this idea for a movie. They have this idea for a comic. They have this idea for a Batman story. They have this idea for what they should do with Star Wars, whatever, like ideas. Which is great and fun to, look, we all like to entertain ourselves with that kind of mental activity. But it's also pretty cheap and easy. It's real easy to say, like, you know what they should do? Or, you know, here's an idea. Why don't they make a movie about, you know? So then you sit down and you're like, I'm going to make it. I'm going to write the script. I'm going to write the comic. I'm going to draw the thing. I'm going to write the book. And you start doing it. And it's an imperfect realization of the perfect, boundaryless, flawless, inspiring idea you have in your head. It's just, you know, and there's something, I think an idea is sort of like a dream in the sense that you're filling in details that aren't actually there. Like if you really actually like, this is what happened, it doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't, you know, there's no logic to it and it's incomplete. And you realize that a lot of the experience of the dream, what was interesting about the dream was your emotional reaction to it, not so much what was happening. That's why sometimes you explain dreams to people and they're like, huh, like it doesn't mean anything to them because there was a component. I think creative ideas are very similar. Like you might have an idea in your head, it's like, this would be amazing. And then you go to start like writing it down or doing it and it's not working because some of it was like this kind of internal emotional thing you were doing with it. And sometimes it's just your skill, your ability. Like you can't execute. You can't make, it's harder to make something than it is to think it up. And that's why I think a lot of people check out. My cat's going to interject. And he has a lot of opinions on this. He's fine. He's just bored. Louie. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Sad kitty. I think that's why a lot of people drop projects. They start writing the thing, they start drawing the thing, they start doing whatever, and it's not coming together where they hoped. They're getting frustrated, they're getting disappointed, they lose interest, and they walk away. Totally understandable. I've done it many a time. But there's also another aspect to that, and that's something that I was reminded of working on this. Like I said, I'm up to page 11 now. I feel pretty confident in this. I've done 2 comics already. I'm doing the 3rd. Like I know this is within my ability. So there, I'm not getting hung up on that part of like, it's not coming together the way I want. Maybe this was a bad idea and I'm not going to do it. Like I'm still like, I'm seeing it through. But there's like a different, more positive aspect to it where I'm finishing pages or I'm finishing panels. It's not maybe exactly what I pictured in my head, but I'm kind of excited to see what it is going to be. And I don't know if that makes sense. And I don't know if other people have that same experience. Like there is something about me doing this. Like sometimes I'm just kind of curious what comes out. And I get excited about what is it going to look like? What is this character going to look like? I don't know. I haven't drawn this person yet. So let's start drawing them and see like, oh, I guess I'm going to draw them like this for the whole thing. And that's fun. Like I enjoy that a lot there, which is, and I think a non-creative might find that a little baffling, this idea of an artist saying like, sometimes people have said, I can't wait to read it. Or I can't wait to see it when it's done. And I think they think I'm being cute or silly or ridiculous where I say like, yeah, me too. But I'm kind of being honest. Like, yeah, I'm interested to see it too. I'm interested to see like what I come up with. And I think that goes to the writing process too. Like I'll take feedback when things are confusing people or they're giving them the wrong idea. Like there were bits of feedback I got on this script where I was like, ugh, people are reading this the wrong way or they're interpreting the wrong way or they're like, I just didn't write it well enough. The idea in my head isn't coming across clean enough. But I don't really change. I don't take a lot of editorial notes. I don't like, what would be really cool or why you could have, partly, not because I think like, oh, it's perfect and I don't need your notes. That's not it. It's partly because I'm enjoying this creative journey, this creative process. And sometimes I just want to see like, if I made a comic, what would it be? Good or bad, what would it be? If I just made it, like, what would that look like? And I think it's similar with the panels. You draw the panels and you're like, I don't know exactly what this is going to look like yet. I'm going to just screw around with it until something comes out. Oh, there it is. I guess that's it. It's kind of the same with the writing. It's kind of the same with the whole thing. And that, I don't think I always had that. I think when I was a younger creative, I didn't have that. I didn't get a lot of enjoyment out of something coming out that wasn't exactly what I pictured, but still fine, if that makes sense. Okay. That's my 2 cents today. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you, Gary?
Good.
I kind of caught. How long have you been streaming? I caught it late, so I don't.
Let me see here. I don't know. Is there a time counter on this?
It says it says live minutes. For 20. It says 24 minutes, but that
something like that.
Sometimes that's if you're just
Yeah, it was a little slow getting started, setting up the page and everything, and then been talking.
Yeah, you can't really gauge that. I know from Artcasters, it'll say you've been on for like
No.
an hour and you've only been on for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'm horrified looking at the 2 I've done so far. They're both over 2 hours, and it's like, how did that happen?
Yeah, well, you get talking, you know.
Yeah, and like at this, oh my gosh.
Oh, there's
Hello. How's
Look
it
at
going?
that. We're getting the band back together.
Yeah,
I know.
And I know I sent a link to Chase, who, I don't know if you guys follow him on Instagram. I'm really excited to see his book.
I'm rarely on Instagram, so it's possible I could be following somebody and not even see the work.
Yeah, so
I
yeah,
don't go on there very often.
Yeah, we'll get the intro from him once he pops on.
I'm excited because Chase has been in chats and stuff before, so it'd be fun to have a conversation with him. You know.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I am going to start placing some reference images.
By the way, what you were just talking about like totally resonates with me, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I was trying to kind of, it's part of why I hopped on because I was like, I'm penciling and kind of in the zone. So I'm like, I'll just listen. But then when you were mentioning that, I was like, oh, that's weird because I was talking about that yesterday. And then I was trying to type it and I'm like, we should just talk about it.
Yeah, it's easier just to say it. Well, I figure especially with you since you didn't, I would think it would be more dramatic with you because you didn't write the script. So you have been living in that world for a long time. You kind of have been given like, draw this,
yeah.
And so you're like, and you've got this timeline. So you're just like, I got to crank stuff out. And so there is definitely probably a discovery process in it where you're like, oh, okay. You know, it's going to be.
Yeah. Going through it, I'm finding it's kind of like, I understand why, like I'm gaining a lot of respect for people like Dave Gibbons, you know, where it's like he gets outshadowed a lot by Alan Moore, but it's like you wouldn't have Watchmen without Dave Gibbons. And then you start, especially when you're working on historical stuff, you're like, oh my gosh, like the research that goes into every page, and then like costumes and like deep thinking about like kind of how the lighting is and stuff like that. But even on my autobio stuff, it's like I do feel like there's this point, and I feel like it's a good point, and it sounds like you're in a good zone, so that's cool. But I feel like there is this really perfect zone where it's almost like you're watching a movie in slow motion that you get to make. Like,
yeah,
it's like the best TV show at its best. You know, I think when you're making creative work, because you're like, yeah, I mean, I totally relate to that, where it's like, I'm so excited to see these pages like come to life. And then like you were describing, like those surprises where you're like, oh, I didn't think it would end up like this, but now this character totally is going to have like this costume and like look this certain way. I don't know. I like it. Scott, do you have that at all? Like with, like Young and the Dead, have you know, where there's like panels you didn't anticipate and then surprises and you're kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing this in like slow motion.
Oh yeah. Those are always, because I mean, when I write a script, I pretty much it's pretty, you know, by the numbers exactly what's going to happen, but I don't always follow it. But it helps me to have that structure before I go into it. And like right now, I'm working on a comic for, you know, a script that I'm hiring an artist to do, which I think I finally found one. I've been searching for an artist and in some ways it's kind of good because it seems like a lot of artists are actually working, because and this actually pays pretty well. I mean, it's at least what Marvel or DC's paying. And I just got so many people now, I can't do it, or I don't have time, or I've got other projects. So, and I've reached out to probably 10 artists. And I reached out to people I knew starting off with, because I knew people that I knew could deliver and everything like that. The only problem is this artist, the work is great and everything, and she's in Spain, and she sounds like she wants to do the project, but I don't have any track record for her, so I just have to trust in that. But anyway, what I was getting at was, so this script is pretty, you know, it says, oh, this is a wide shot, this is a medium shot, this is, you know, the angles, all that stuff. and working with this artist, I'm just going to tell her, you know, if she's the one I go with, and she, you know, I'm just going to say, you know, these are just guidelines. If you have a better take, because you know, when you look at an artist, you can see their stuff. You can say, oh, these are great choices and everything, and I trust this person to do what they want. So for me, that stuff's just more of a guideline, but I'm open to whatever. Somebody's got a better take on it, just go do whatever you want.
I won't say it on air, but I'm suspecting I know who you're talking about, and that's pretty exciting.
The artist?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay, you'll have to let me know. You'll have to let me know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, but
well, there's another Spanish artist I know that's it's not Teresa.
Okay. Oh, that's who I was like. I wonder if he's talking about.
I probably should have reached out to Teresa, but I don't know. We're kind of going with more of a kind of a Marvel type style. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's I think the other part, that just the last thought I had when listening to you two guys about sort of the look of something sort of revealing itself. I think also that's a function of, if you're drawing a comic, Josh, you're finding this out in a big way right now. You're regularly drawing things you've never drawn before in your life, like not even thought about drawing, didn't even know was a thing, you know, and now you're drawing it. And so there's an element of like, I don't even know how I would draw this. I'm going to figure it out for the first time on this page. And that's also, there's like a discovery process in that. It's like, well, I guess that's how I draw that, you know? And so there's newness in there.
Yeah. And I think that's one advantage of like, I think all three of us, like we've, you know, cut our teeth doing illustration, like both in-house and like freelance and stuff like that. And there's this weird thing that happens with art where it's like, you have to kind of trust the process of what you're doing and kind of have this like almost like blind faith in your own abilities, because it's so easy to get psyched out in art. And then the second you get psyched out, like you're drawing crappy, like you know, like it kind of reminds me of like my first time ever doing storyboards in house somewhere was like a nightmare because I had a psych out moment. Yeah. And so like the first hour that I did storyboards in house when I was a young artist, the first time I ever did it, I had never done it. I felt intimidated. I felt like people were like looking over my shoulder. And it took me like 20 times as long to do something that at home, like in my own zone, would take me like 5 minutes. And then I got over it and just trusted it. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, I can be a storyboard artist. Like but you have enough. I was just bringing that up as one example, but we've had enough of those experiences with like a million things where you have a client who's like, I need you to draw a zoo, and, you know, from like an overhead shot with like a crowd of people walking through it or something. Right. And you're like, well, I guess I'm drawing a zoo with like, I've never drawn a lion, but now I'm drawing a lion. Like, it's just, so that's a good instinct. I almost think like if you're a young artist and somebody was practicing and trying to prepare to be a cartoonist or an illustrator, that wouldn't be a bad thing to just kind of maybe just pull up the news and just look at the first 5 headlines, and that's your assignment. Like draw one thing from everything, and you don't get to pick like whatever the top 5 results are. Because that gets you in this point where like when you're working on your own creative project, like Gary, you know, where it's like, you're not going to be inhibited by your own abilities when you're writing, because you have faith in the fact that like, I'll figure it out. I'll make it work, you know, which makes us our worst enemies as writers, you know, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that it's something I've talked about a lot with the making comics guys. I find it, I didn't realize it would catch on with them, but they reference it a lot when I'm listening to their podcast, is like this idea that there's writer Gary and there's art Gary. And like writer Gary is constantly giving art Gary fits, and art Gary is, you know, like always swearing at writer Gary, you know, and that you absolutely have to separate those two. Yeah. 100%. Because the instant I'm sitting there writing a script and I feel myself getting uptight about what I'm writing, because it's like, this sounds really hard to draw, or I don't know if I can do this justice, or I don't know even how I approach it, or whatever. Like all that's doing is inhibiting the writing, inhibiting the story. Like you have to just figure like the way, I mean, I've said this a lot of times before on different things, like writer Gary's just gonna have to figure it out, or art Gary's gonna have to figure it out, you know, and like sorry, you know, I'm gonna write the story that seems best. And then when art Gary is there, like he has to, there can't be any of this like, I'm gonna rewrite a little bit, you know, because this sounds hard. Like, no. Like you're gonna draw it the way it was written. You know, you can't rewrite. That's writer Gary's domain. You can't start rewriting. You're not the writer. You're the art guy. Draw it like we told you. You know, you have to kind of do that to yourself. But.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying, like, you know, this process of working with another writer. So far, I every choice and decision I've made is just backed because, but I think part of that is because of that seasoned territory that I come from, where I'm not going to ever tell a client that like, hey, this is too hard to draw.
Right.
So that's why.
Right. Yeah. Can you
or
imagine?
like, hey, can I hide like a hand in this panel?
Yeah.
Because
like,
I don't want to draw a
I
hand.
don't really like drawing feet. So like, yeah. I mean, it'd be crazy.
So for me, it's more of like, oh, I read the script and I thought this panel sequence would be better if we created some suspense and tension, so it creates a better page turn. Like that's the kind of input that I'm going to be putting in and changes I'm going to be making to the script. So it's always like in service of the story. And it's like, I think that's the key, is like when you're writing the story, you can't let yourself be constrained by your own abilities, and especially your own like worst enemy, which is like that artist doubt thing, which just, again, like if you feed that, you're going to be disabled from being able to draw. Like it's like, when you're in life drawing, one of the most important things, like if you're in a life drawing session, is just to like be in the zone and just like freely feeling the flow of it. Because like when you do that, you get in this perfect zone where you can draw really excellently.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I related to that a lot. And I think that's half the battle, is like, you can't psych yourself out in comics, and don't cop out. Like don't allow yourself to be like, oh, this is going to require me to draw like an overhead shot of all of New York. So therefore, but it's essential for the story, but I don't want to do that drawing. So I'm going to change it to be like a picture of a window and then just have it say New York. Don't cop out, draw the whole scene. Like it's, you'll thank yourself. And the second you do it, I don't know, Gary, if you've had this, but this is the thing I love about where we're at, I feel, in comics, is like, once you've drawn something, now you've unlocked that, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. I can draw like, you know, in your case, like a triceratops, like fighting an alien,
whatever it is. Well, and I think it gets you a step, you know, I think we talked about this maybe in a chat or something. I've always been a little confused by usually younger or less experienced artists talking about, like, I'm trying to figure out, like, find my style. I'm trying to decide on a style. And to me, I mean, maybe that's how some people, I've never, like, I don't think that's something you pick. I don't think that's something like, I'm going to, like, this is going to be my, like, I think it's something that's sort of revealed by doing and doing and doing and doing. Like, I think you'll have no control over it. If you're doing it enough, like, your style, whatever your thing is just going to be there. It's going to come out. And I think this is one of the things that starts revealing it, is drawing a bunch of crazy stuff you've never drawn before. And you start seeing, like, this is kind of my thing. This is how I approach things. This is how I like to make things look. But, okay, I'm going to drop some people in. Let's see here. We got Chase, maybe. And we got Frank.
There's Frank.
Maybe. Is Chase there? Chase, are you there? It looks a little frozen. Once we see, oh, Chase will probably come back. Okay. Can we hear Frank?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. There we go. There. I heard it.
Testing. Okay.
A little bit. You're there. So hopefully Chase will reappear. It looked like some technical difficulties. But
did I chase him off?
There we go.
It had.
Now he's not gonna. Now he's like, you know what? I got other stuff too. I can't.
I think I mentioned this on a stream before, but it's like because I have an 8-year-old boy, it's like, you know, when he was like 6, he was like, of course, went through the Paw Patrol thing. And so anytime I hear the word chase, I'm like, Chase is on the case. Like it's embedded in my subconscious.
Oh, okay.
Just from
There we go. Chase, are you there?
That's not what I thought you were gonna.
Yes.
Oh,
Can you hear me? Is the microphone even
I can
working?
hear you. It's a little choppy, but you sound fine. It just seems like there's a little bit of maybe a lag. So, Chase, look, YouTube debut.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your creative project, and share your Instagram. I can put it in the chat or something because I think people should follow you.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do I even
Oh,
start?
nice mug. I like your mug.
Oh, thanks. I'll have it in frame. Been kind of actually procrastinating.
Yeah.
I hate to admit it, but you know what? This is confession time, so
This is confession.
Just sort
I
of
started the day with a confession. It's fine. We
A
can all
confessional.
admit our creative weaknesses today.
I mean, I can give a sort of tour of my quote-unquote studio, which is just my bedroom.
Same as
So-
mine. Well, yeah.
Yeah, mine too.
I can probably see the art that is in fact finished. This is probably about like I don't know, 10 pounds. I'm trying to lift one-handed of all my artboard. Okay. The advantage of having it on a phone is that I can actually preview what I'm doing
Get your. How do we get your window?
because the laptop is
Yeah,
way too
go full
humble.
screen, Jerry. We didn't get a good look at it.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks
Yeah.
good. Is that watercolor or I can't?
I think it's pencil, right?
Is it all
Oh
pencil?
no, yeah, it's actually grayscale. So with markers,
Yeah.
it's awkward because
It's
I'm trying to
meticulous work. And tell us about your. Tell us about the. It's going to be part of a comic, right?
Oh yeah, it's going to be part of a 200-page graphic novel, and these are the chapter break stops. So these are kind of demarcating individual, 10-page increments of story.
Yeah.
And these are going to be in the trade paperbacks in the collected edition. So it's not even going to really even be in the serialized mini issues.
Huh.
And this is this like what period? This looks probably pre-Edo, right? I'm not super familiar with my Japanese history.
Oh yeah, it's set during an alternate universe version of the Edo period, where one of the provinces is overcome with bandits from a rogue battalion. It's a very intricate plot, and being under caffeinated can't explain it nearly as
Yes, I understand. Well, I don't remember how I got turned on to your Instagram. I probably saw you in a chat for Artcasters or Foo's show or something. And I'm really impressed by your work. It's very meticulous. They look so finished and nice and clean, and I'm really intrigued by the story and the level of research you're doing. Like when you explain a little bit about, it seems like you're really doing the historical research, even if it is a alternate history. It seems like you're really doing your homework on what that stuff should look like. So I'm very excited to see the final thing.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I partly created the book out of frustration because for the first 2 years or so of participating in Comic Cons, it kind of seemed that a lot of the audience, quote unquote, were just sort of gravitating to my work because it was eye candy. And sort of almost out of spite, I wanted to prove that I could actually write, literature and write an actual book that had
Nice.
Subtext, multiple plot lines, character development with a lot of dimensionality. So that was sort of what was keeping me active during the play when I had nothing to do indoors. So, with all the months of free time, might as well make a graphic novel, see how it turns out.
I love that. I think it's great. And I also love, I think, Josh, you used to talk a lot about spite as a motivator, which the unsung hero of creativity, spite. So whatever gets you, but also it's great to hear like I was bored during pandemic, so I occupied myself in a productive way stories. Like that's I think that's really positive too.
Yeah, you hear those stories. Like I was just listening to there's a channel I listen to called Professor Rock on YouTube, and he just talks about just different. He just goes into different like musical history and stuff like that. But he's telling a story. They were doing one on I think it was Sweet, and they were talking about because they were like one of the first kind of glam bands, and I guess Nikki Sixx had sent the guitarist something, and it says your stuff, sorry kid, your stuff sucks, you'll never be a writer, you'll never do any of this. And that, I guess that motivated him. And you hear those stories, but it's like I would never tell somebody to do that. I mean, it's like in some way, if I guess if you know the personality of the person, if you know that they're going to say, well, I'll show you, and they do it, but you don't know who's going to take that and like, oh, I'll show you, or just going to get destroyed by it and never work again. So
Right.
It's so dangerous to give that kind of advice, but you hear that stuff all the time. And I don't see, for me, I could never tell anyone anything like that.
Yeah, I don't think I would want to ever be the arbiter of whether somebody can do art or something like that. But I will say, I think like in a weird way, if like somebody telling you that you're not cut out for something is gonna kick you out of it, you got to grow more resilience, because like you're gonna hear like when you get into the creative field, you're gonna have people who like think you suck, who doubt you, who like even if you start getting successes, you're gonna have people get really mad and kind of envious. I've even witnessed that with like people you would think knew better, like who've been in industry for a long time, like because it's hard. It's a hard thing to do. So like when you have successes, it's like sometimes there's people who won't celebrate your successes with you. When you have failures, there's people who aren't going to hold you up, or you have people who are around when you're only failing, and then when you're succeeding, they'll bail. There's all sorts of stuff, but it's like you got to grow some, like, if you got to cut your teeth on criticism, like regardless.
There is,
but I agree with Scott. We should uplift other artists and not try to knock them down.
I see it. I definitely see both, and I feel like there's no like one path. Like I absolutely agree with Scott, where you don't know if this is the person who's going to be encouraged or motivated by some tough feedback. Like you could just sort of break them at a very fragile early stage of their journey. On the other hand, I also feel like if you're going to fold and give it up because someone had a harsh word, boy, get out now. Because it's only going to get harder.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, but I just don't want to be the person that says that.
Right. I don't want that responsibility. Yeah, exactly. Right. The internet will take care of that. Like the internet.
Then when they do become successful, they've got their story, and it's about you and how you didn't realize it.
Yeah.
I was just listening to something. I think it was on Cartoonist Kayfabe where they were it was Eisner, and I forgot who it was. It might have been Kirby or something, and he had a quote, and I guess he said, yeah, I told him he wouldn't make it in the business or whatever, even after they did, or who it was. I forget who it was, and Eisner was just kind of like, okay, I'll accept it. I was wrong, but
yeah.
Speaking of cartoonist kayfabe, I just had to show this off. It was a morale booster and some words of encouragement for me to complete the book from Ed, Jim, and Arkiko Johnson, a New York Times cover artist.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I would ever. I think. No, that's great.
At the bottom.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually helped
one say. What does the bottom message say?
The message from Arkiko Johnson is You will never regret making your book exactly the way you want it. Tom Devlin told me this when I was 22. I think he works for Drawn and Quarterly. And it was the best artistic and professional advice I ever received. And what's funny is that I was mentioning my age to Arkiko Johnson, starting this book. I finished the first rough draft of the script when I was 21, a week before my birthday. So, and I can probably show off actually my script as well.
Oh,
So,
nice.
this is almost 8 months of nonstop writing during the plague. So, first rough draft handwritten.
Oh God.
So you're one of the
are
few
monster.
people.
Now,
You're one of the few.
your, is this your first real comic project, or are you like what were you doing? You alluded before that people were just writing off you as like art guy, and you wanted to show some. So what were you doing before you started this?
I've had a very interesting career path. I've never worked a job I didn't like because I only had one, and that was being a cashier at Maui Comics, the only comic book store on Maui that's still up and running. And my
Nice.
boss, Lika, actually helped coordinate the yearly Maui Comic Cons, which are around the end of each, fall or so. The
Wow.
2021 was pushed, obviously, but, that was when cartoonist Kayfabe was guesting along with Arkiko Johnson and Frank Cho, as well as I think Liam Sharp. So,
Nice.
and I helped coordinate the events with my boss. I've sponsored previous events. I've gotten to network with a few artists, including Eric Powell, the creator of The Goon. He was very encouraging of me as well when I mentioned, me possibly making the transition from being strictly an artist to being an author, writer / cartoonist. But I feel as though more people admire me for my potential rather than who I actually am, and that's another driving motivator to really create. And hopefully after this live stream, that procrastination bubble will finally pop, and I'll get back into cranking out my artwork.
There you go. Yeah. It's it's funny, like we've talked a lot on Artcasters and everywhere else about how if you're starting out, do a little small, try a mini comic, and it's I think that's absolutely great across the board advice.
That's my
But at the
number
same
one bit of
time,
advice.
I know like I'm doing the same thing you did where I just threw myself in the deep end. It's like, I'm
Yep.
going to do like a 6 comic graphic novel, like mega saga that's going to take me years to do. And I just started just swimming.
There are people that can do it, but they're few and far between. So that's another bit of advice. I always just start small, but
you don't
know. There are people that, that can do it, but
yeah, Scott and I always are on polar opposites on that, where I'm like, if you have a big giant project you've always wanted to do and you want to do that life-changing graphic novel, make it now because you don't have time. So make it now because you're going to have less time in a year than you have now. So just start now. Yeah. And then you'll get better. So I'm a deep end guy, but I also have seen enough people who struggle with just biting off the whole iceberg, and maybe they aren't stubborn enough to you have to be pretty stubborn to take that approach if you're going to see it through.
Well, I would, at least in my case, I can't speak for everybody.
Yeah.
At least in my case, I would say, while I hadn't tried to do a comic before I did 75, I had been drawing my entire life and all sorts of different things.
Yes.
So I knew I had the basic toolkit of drawing. And I'd been sort of a hobbyist, creative writer my entire life. So it was just a matter of sticking to it for me. I can picture if I was 19 and I did not have that kind of experience to lean on.
Yeah.
The idea of I'm going to do hundreds of pages of this weird sci-fi horror character drama, over the next 5 or 6 years. That's insane. That's a bad idea, maybe start a little more conservatively. But again, like everyone is going to be different. Everyone's going to have, it's like, I mean, obviously, Chase, you're pulling it off. So like it's within your ability, but there are other people where I'd be like, don't, don't set the bar right here just yet. Like, you know, like start something, do something a little more, it's easier to wrap your arms around.
Yeah, that's definitely where I agree with Scott on it. Is like I think that's for some people. The answer should be like 100%. Like don't give up. Don't give yourself excuses. Like knock it out. And then I definitely would say we've definitely met other artists who like maybe that was intimidating, or maybe they need to cut their teeth a little more and learn a little more. Chase, you're definitely a guy who like you've got the skills to pull it off. So it's just a matter of like probably like self-discipline at this point, you know.
It's just a commitment to it.
Yeah.
Chase,
but I agree with Scott. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, are you in Hawaii then?
No.
Yes, on Maui, so it's going to be slightly earlier from my time zone.
Well, that's good, because I don't know. I mean, I think Josh. I mean, I think that would be a good topic for Artcasters. Is like big giant project. We could have Chase on maybe.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah,
have him on, man. Like I feel like I would just like to see Chase more places. So like I fully endorse the idea of having him on. So. Yeah, it would probably be
in terms of.
Are you his agent?
A lot earlier, like
are you his agent, Gary?
Yeah.
In terms of self-discipline, I think in the writing stage, I got it, you know, fairly well exercised. Like, this is the second draft I typed out of the script, and
just that you could sit and write that through shows like a level of commitment.
Is that double-sided?
That most people.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
I mean, it looks like
because I got to see the rocks.
Oh my god!
And this is the first of 3 scripts, so this is roughly a deluxe double-sized mini series issue if it were serialized in installments. Arkiko Johnson once described my unorthodox writing methods as Tarantino-esque because I'm very impulsive when it comes to progress. I don't like drawing in sequence. Yeah, I kind of like working in impassioned bursts where I'm really feeling it out for a certain scene or moment. And I've written even a little grocery list of chapters that I'm going to draw once I get out of my procrastination period. So it's kind of like little beats. It's little beats of the story, but these are bite-sized manageable chunks I can do one at a time, because I also have ADHD. I'm not saying that as a joke, I actually do. I'm very inattentive and fidgety, but I love drawing and putting time into making each individual page or panel count. So doing chapters or scenes that are really kind of vividly playing in my mind that I just can't get out of my head, I'll tackle those first.
There you go. I think, that's one of those things. Like I think I've talked about this before. I work, and I think Josh, you're working this way right now. Scott, I'm curious. I'm assuming you do too. Like it's very much like page 1 to page end. Like just I go straight through. But as I've also said on past things, like as long as you're finishing stuff, I'm open-minded about your process. So like I have been that in the past where I hop around to like, what is the thing that's speaking to me today? That's the thing I'm going to do, but if it works for you, I guess it works.
Yeah. So. Like the script that I just finished, I wrote it pretty much linearly. And, but then I'm like, you know what? I need to take this middle part and move it to the front, and kind of one of those where you start in the middle of the action and then you come back to it, just because otherwise there wasn't enough action in the beginning. So, but then like Young and the Dead, it's kind of a slow burn. It just starts off, and it was kind of purposeful because I could have brought the action in the beginning and done the same thing, but with that one, I just kind of wanted to build, like give the idea that this is just a modern everyday town. It's pretty normal. Nothing really happens. And then all of a sudden, so it kind of just depends, but I usually kind of at least start off writing it in a linear fashion, and then if I want to, I maybe move things around a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to think that, like, it's funny because I tend to suspect that I'm pretty autistic, and so like for me, I need very systematic, like rigid structures for me to soar and excel. And so for me, it's like I literally have to have a perfect map that I'm following, like a script that I'm following. I have to break down that script. I need roughs, thumbnails, roughs, and then completion. And I have to do it from like, for me, the advantage of doing one to, and I'm not trying to sell anyone on it, it's just the differing processes. But I find that like the advantage to doing page one to final, you have the disadvantage of like, if you get any better, then the book is just going to progressively get better. Or if you start taking less time on your pages, your book's going to look just sporadically like it's getting worse as the book progresses. So that's one of the negatives. But the positive is like you force yourself to push yourself through pages you don't want to do. And because when you're writing, like there's going to be pages that are boring and you have to draw, and and then it forces you in a situation where you're like, how do I make this less boring? Like, how do I make this entertaining to do? What do I get into on this? Like, so I need to show this boring thing. Maybe I can show it from a different angle. Maybe I can like explore texture or staging or something like that. And like, so for me, that like forced, it's like I need that structure. I need to like almost approach comics like a military exercise. Like I like with like there's a time of day that I need to be working, all of that. So for me, like that structure helps me finish things. Because but also for me, these processes take like 5 years, you know, so sometimes so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Did
kind
we
of like
lose
I'm
Chase?
in this awkward.
No, he's
Oh no, I came back.
You're there. Okay.
I mean, can you see me? Am I still sort of
I
visible?
can see you. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
I
think
mean,
it might
I'm
be
kind of in
lagging
Yeah,
on
this.
my.
Yeah. Well, I'm in this transitory phase of, regaining momentum
Mhm.
and keeping it, because I also have another project where I'm creating a series of paintings to help fund the restoration of the Jinja Shrine in Maui, which is the only extant Shinto shrine in the entire island. And ever since the only priestess passed away like a couple of years ago, she was like 100 and still delivering services, like she never retired. Like the shrine has been sort of dormant, and it's in a kind of dilapidated state where it needs a lot of woodwork and repair, and nobody's really acknowledging it or drawing attention to it. So I'm managing that nonprofit restoration project to save a historical landmark on top of making a graphic novel. And that's also partly why, I'm a little, psychologically overwhelmed, for lack of a better description.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it delivers more urgency to keep creating, I feel, instead of just being, passive, I'm going to make some merch, I'm going to sell at a con. It's not like that mode of thinking at all. It's there's sort of a humanistic drive to it, saving a part of, the Japanese immigrant history on Hawaii, part of the working class history on Maui as well.
It's amazing.
And it was a nice kind of yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah, it was also my way of just kind of, giving the finger to the fine art establishment, which seemed very very closed off, with a lot of gatekeeping. And it's not like they're really giving back to the community at all. They're just sort of in this, weird echo chamber with other artists that only digest a certain type of way of thinking or a way of creative art. Or it's just more or less to appease tourists.
At least in Arizona, at least the gallery scene that I'm familiar with in Arizona. Like, and I don't know, it's not necessarily bad, but it just gets a little boring. There's things that become like you can tell there's the kind of thing that people want, the kind of artists they want it from. And, it gets kind of samey, it gets kind of stale, but you can tell, like, it is very like echo chamber. It's like this weird isolated community where they've decided what they're interested in, and they're just passing that back and forth and seeking out the artists that make that. And it feels like it's almost like a bunch of hobbyists But I don't know. It's funny. The more time I've spent in that community here in the Phoenix area, the less I aspire to it. You know, it just, and I don't want to act like, oh, it's all trash. Like those people are terrible and the art is no good. It's not that. It's just, it feels very, it lacks dimension.
You read it?
You know, but it's just kind of the same. I don't know. It gets very monoculture in a way. Like, it's a little boring. I will say, and this is another thing, kind of like giving harsh feedback. It can help. It can make someone fold. I do find when I'm under pressure, got a lot going on at work, busy in my personal life, maybe not feeling 100% mental health wise, like struggling with the anxiety, it kind of keeps me more on task. It makes you like fight harder to get stuff done. And I hate that cliche of like, you know, oh, you need to struggle a little bit to do art. But at least in my case, you know, it does help a little. I don't love it. I don't love the feeling, but it keeps my eye on the ball.
Yeah, I do sort of feel that, you know, I can set an example where I can take my art into a whole other, you know, realm of communication, you know, a whole other level of reaching out to people with writing an entire story that, you know, as I mentioned, I think on a previous chat on some other stream, leaves, you know, the reader with not just one idea, but multiple, countless ideas afterwards.
Yeah.
And I think, Gary, you actually shared on your Instagram like some screenwriting, you know, insight from a writer who basically, you know, gave the expression of, you know, an idea is truly good when it never leaves your mind. It stays with you for a very long time.
Yeah, I saw that just recently. I think it was I can't think of the guy's name. He's like mostly known for comedic roles. Seth Rogen?
Seth
Rogen?
Seth Rogen?
I think it was Seth Rogen. Yeah, he was talking about how that's
Seth
how. No, it was Rogen. It was definitely Green.
Wait, was it just Seth?
It wasn't. I think it was Seth Rogen. You know, the stoner comedy guy. You know,
we're just gonna mess with you on Seth names for now.
Yeah, he was talking about like what ideas are the right ideas.
Yeah.
You know, and he was saying the way that he and I guess his writing partner sorted out is like, what are the ones that stick with you? He's like, you'll have a wall with like 80 different ideas. What's the one you can't stop thinking about? What's the one that 2 years later you're still like kind of chewing on? That's the right idea. Like that's how, you know, I have to admit that was kind of the DvsM thing. Like I was doing DvsM just people who followed me for a while, they know this. It was just sort of a goof. It was a way just to do art on the side. It was prints mostly. There wasn't much to it, and it started just as like a silly thing. It was very like kaiju-y, like I'm just gonna draw a dinosaur fighting a robot. That's fun, you know. But the more I like was thinking about it, the more I was like, and people were asking like, "Hey, are you ever gonna do a comic?" Like it would make me think about like, what would a comic be? How would that look? What would that be? And it just after years, you realize like, I guess I'm just gonna do this, like because I haven't gotten bored of it. I haven't set it aside. I haven't decided like there's nothing here. Like there was something that kept me with it where I was like, all right, I need to just see this through. So when he said that, I was like, that really resonates with me. Like that's why I shared it. It's like I find very relatable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole other motivator in itself. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you go. It's good.
It's another motivating factor to, you know, leave something behind that is, you know, a worthy spiritual document of, you know, that, you know, creative individual. Sort of like I get that from your autobiographical graphic novel as well, your comic books, Joshua. It's kind of like, you know, the life wasn't lived in vain. All of those kind of painful, embarrassing moments, you know, had some resonance and, you know, it permeated into your work. And I think, you know, if I can sort of, you know, channel the really profound, you know, thoughts and ideas that I have, I can kind of manage that into, you know, whatever I'm writing and drawing as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing you were mentioning about like the art scene too, like it's weird. It's like I feel like the kind of gallery scene can be a little like you know that South Park episode where people are drinking their own smug kind of thing. Um, and then but there's a little bit of that in comics too, where like cartoonists can kind of forget. And Chase, it sounds like you're not among the people who are forgetting this. It seems like you're aware of it, but it's like I wish more cartoonists would like. For me, a big wake up call was Craig Thompson was doing an interview about blankets and the making of blankets, and he was talking about how at one point he was like working in house at Dark Horse doing like color work. And then he'd go home and he was so poor that he'd be like digging through trash cans for food and making pages of blankets. And the interviewer was like, that's horrible. That's terrible. And he's like, well, what do you think it is? I'm making art. He's like, art is a struggle. Like, and the interviewer was like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, I mean, it's like you sacrifice stuff to make stuff. He's like, that's what I needed to do to make the book. I'm not recommending people eat out of trash cans or something. But my point is, like, I think we can forget, like, the fact that we're artists and we should be pursuing things that are worth the time and stories that we really want to tell and infusing ourselves into it. So whether that's through autobio or like that, one of the things I love about Gary's stuff is like Gary took a silly premise and then he's poured his soul into it. And so it's become something way further and way deeper and way better than just like the initial premise. It's become like a soul infused thing. I think that's what we should all be doing, you know, because otherwise, why waste your time doing comics? It's not like a great, it's not a great industry if you're not putting your soul into the books, you know.
It's a lot of work, and I appreciate that, but I also think it's a little bit like circling back to the thing about you're not picking a style, you're going to find the style. The style's going to come out. To me, that's a little bit with like what you're trying to say, where it's like you know, I suppose you could write things and say like, I want to write something about this idea, and you start building it in. I think if you're writing from the heart, if you're writing the things that motivate you, if you're writing the things that like feel emotionally resonant to you, feel meaningful, feel important, like you're having characters say the things that seems like the thing to say, that's kind of like the style thing. Like whatever it's about it's getting in there. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, whether you realize it or not. And it's a little bit like seeing the panel when you're done drawing. It's like, I guess that's how I draw that. Like you'll write the thing, and like I have to admit there's an element of like I obviously had ideas in my head about like what 75 is about, what 97 is about, what this one is about. And those are all still true, but then I go back and read them a year later and I'm like, this is actually kind of about this. And I didn't realize it. Like I'm talking about this and I wasn't fully conscious of that. And that I think is totally valid too. Like it's gonna come out if you're being honest and a little fearless in your writing. Like something's gonna come through. Something of you is gonna come through. And like I think it's a little bit like the style thing. You just gotta trust the process. It'll take care of itself, I think.
Yep.
That's what makes me kind of admire the lifestyle and intent of the cartoonists, because they really have to sort of commit and, you know, go into that extra effort in a way that, you know, quite a lot of gallery artists, quite frankly, you know, don't need to worry about. The art form itself is almost like a combination of literature and, you know, visual sequential storytelling. It's, you know, not just one fixed medium, it's almost a hybrid. So right. The way I view it, cartoonists almost have to work twice as hard, not just drawing it, but writing it as well and keeping at it for several years to make a complete book. And I find a lot of self-discovery in the process as well. You know, with each step, I didn't know I could take it that far before, but then again, it's my debut, so it could just be that revelation of doing it for the first time.
Well, I mean, exactly. like what I opened with, I'm at a point right now where I feel like if you're pushing each time, it won't just be the first time. Like, I think you should always feel like you're discovering something new. And whether it's just as simple as, oh, I kind of like the feathering I did there, you know, or as complicated as like, I think I tapped into something new, or I think I was a little braver. I think I was a little more fearless. I think I'm realizing something I'm exploring in this. I think, you know, whatever it is, like, but I think I think if it ever becomes rote, where it's like, I drew this, like 1,000 other drawings I've done, and now I'm repeating myself. Like, if you're, no offense to him, but if you're Jim Davis doing Garfield, like, you're not breaking any new ground. Like that, and that's fine. Look, the guy's a multimillionaire. I'm not judging that, but to me, like, that's not.
How dare
Maybe
you,
art,
Gary.
maybe creativity, but you're not learning anything new. You're not getting anything new out of. The only thing you're getting out of the process at that point is like doing something that you've done 1,000 times before and doing it again. Like, the you know, the rolling the boulder up the hill. Like, I guess you're getting that lesson, but I'm more interested in like, I wanna stretch a little each time. And I think most of the creatives I know feel the same way. Like, they want to push a little bit. But...
And alluding to the comment about there being zero growth in comfort, it's almost as though, you know, making myself, you know, as wildly uncomfortable as possible is really beneficial, you know, in terms of my education overall, because, you know, I'm self-taught. I've never really gone to an art school or an art institute. I pretty much just was that kid in the back of the classroom that obsessively would sketch every, you know, dead minute when I wasn't doing any assignments or any work at hand, you know, doing my best.
Like, probably everyone on this stream probably was that kid. Like, yeah.
I was.
And, you know, it was just kind of like, do I really want to, you know, focus on shading and drawing, you know, a 3-dimensional ball or a square? It's like, you know, no, I want to do my best Noriyoshi Orai impersonation. I want to do some Hiroshi Harada style, you know, ink slinging on the sketchbook. You know, there was kind of this, you know, restlessness that helped me persevere in the very rigid, you know, system of the public school, with all its, you know, oppressive, contradictory, you know, quirks and whatnot. I mean, sketching really kind of did sort of save my life and, you know, keep me mentally afloat for a while.
Oh, I would have been so much more bored in school if I couldn't sit and doodle in my notebook. Like, I don't know. And I don't think I was ADD. I don't think I am. I don't know, maybe I am, but I don't think I am. But I do think there was like a level of boredom for me in school for whatever reason. And if I couldn't sit and, like, I remember lots of times, even up through college, like, a professor would say, like, could you stop doing that? Because I was sitting and doing this, you know, clicking my pen. Like, you know, just, I think there's a level of baseline fidget for me. And for me, it was like sketching. Like, I was a good student, and I would listen and I would take my notes, draw little diagrams, whatever is going on. But there was a lot of, you know, if you're listening to a lecture, there's lots of gaps in there where, like, you know, it's like, yeah, I got it. And that's where I'm drawing Ryu from Street Fighter, you know, or something. Like, you know, I'm just sitting and screwing around in my, like, you know, that was nonstop all through school, up through college. Like, I have college notebooks where it's half doodles. So.
For me, the thing I loved about teaching college, like, I kind of still miss this, was that it's expected, if you're teaching an art class, that there's going to be almost every student is drawing a ridiculous caricature of you. Like, and if they're not, you're probably not doing your job. Like, you know, like, the great thing about art and like artists in general, it's like we process things differently. We're visual thinkers. If we weren't thinking visually, we probably wouldn't be drawn to drawing. You know, it's a way we communicate. So if we're like taking notes, like even at my job, it's like, you know, where I'm like an executive and stuff, like I'm still at like executive meetings, like doodling, like I'm processing, I'm listening. That's how I listen. That's how I like remember stuff. It helps me focus. So it's like, I think, to me, I think the coolest thing about art as a career is it's like one of the few careers where you should be doing silly drawings and doodling. And like, if you're not, like, you're probably like not indulging your creative spirit, you know, because you need to be creative. It's just part of the thing.
Yeah.
And it's, I love, I don't know, Chase, I'm really excited because I like that you're kind of going forward and doing something ambitious and also taking time with it too, because I think that, you know, especially like younger artists tend to make the mistake of like going too quick, and just trying to bust through something and make something epic, and then have to learn that hard lesson of like, well, if I had taken a little more time, this could have been worth all that time. And then equally, a lot of people will take too much time and then they won't get anything carved away or accomplished. Right. And it feels like, to me, it's really impressive seeing where you're at, because it seems like you have a really good, a good grounding, which is really cool. It's just exciting to see.
Look at this guy in the chat heckling us. I don't know who this jerk is, but it looks like
who's this Salazar guy? Frank, you got to talk to this.
Whoever that is.
Yeah, you got to talk to this Salazar. We'll just call him San. Talk to this San guy.
Yeah.
I'll talk to him. I like Aaron's comment. You are our art.
Yeah, we are the artwork. You know, it's funny. I'm endlessly pleased. Well, endlessly, 3 times pleased that I can come on here with no real agenda, and a good conversation happens. That's pretty.
I thought you meant with me. I'm endlessly pleased with Frank.
Like, no. I am infrequently pleased with Frank. I am sporadically pleased with Frank.
And he gets surprise first-time appearances from, you know, the community as well.
I know, which is funny because, like, it's especially like when we were trying to do this last time. It was like, I've seen you in the chats forever. I've been following you on Instagram at least for a year or two. I don't even know how long. And when it occurred to me, it's like, oh yeah, you've never popped in. You've never been in any of these. Like, we gotta make that happen. So.
Yeah. He's always in
there's all sorts of.
That's right. I see most.
Yeah, I mean, there's technical hiccups with my laptop, so I'm actually doing this off of my phone. So
That's
very impromptu,
on my phone.
Very technically illiterate.
Well,
that's how I do it on my phone all the time. So
I had a video meeting with a representative from are they saying it as Kaya? It's QAYA. It's this thing that allows you to have a storefront on your YouTube. It's something I'll probably be adding in the next few days. But you were able to sign up for it, and yeah, it's like Scott's doing it already. You can see if you go to his
oh yeah, that's
YouTube,
right, that's right.
Yeah, you can see the store there.
I saw the video Scott did.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very exciting. So it was a thing where it was like, sign up. You know, we're looking for, I don't know. It's still sort of like in their test rollout or whatever it is. It's not widespread, but they're like, sign up if you're interested. And I thought, there's no way they'll talk to, because I have like 107 subscribers or something. You know, it's like, but what the hell? Like, I'll just throw my name in. And they must have just randomly been like lotterying people, like, because she was like, hey, let's do a meeting. And I was like, okay. And it was our second attempt. The first time, no audio from her side at all. And this is a Google person, so it just shows like the technology is a little wonky. Like we were sitting there and like she's in a conference room and she's like, you know, like, and it's like, no, I can't. Can you hear me? And she's like, you know, like, so it was just like, look, we'll try another time. Like she kept on like, I'm gonna hop off and hop back on, and she would do it, and just like, Yeah, so it was really fine. Anyway, the second time it all worked fine. So yes, I will be adding a storefront. Again, this is a good reminder in case you're tuning in late. There's a link in my description. Comic book cover contest at Comix Well Spring. Please vote for the pulp cover for DvsM 1997.
Yes, and
Click
I'm
on
not.
that
I'm going to say this so
That
Gary
one's yours.
doesn't have to.
I was
would
waiting for
just say,
Bigfoot Knows Karate.
I would just say vote as many times as you can.
I'm not saying that. I'm not. But
I'm saying that, but you know,
scroll all the
I'm
way
just saying that.
down.
I'm not saying that I voted 5 times already. But...
Look, I don't support that kind of behavior, but apparently it's possible. So but scroll all the way down. There's a red vote button. There are little vote links along the way. Don't click on those. I don't know what, and you click through it.
Yeah,
and say,
I
like,
spelled for the first time.
yeah, it's weird. Scroll all the way down. There's a red button that says vote. Click on that. It'll give you multiple choice. Please pick Dinosaurs versus Marsbots. It'll give me a print credit. And once I get reprints of 75 and 97 done, they'll be available to buy right on this YouTube channel. I mean, I think it'll route you to Etsy, but it'll be easy and convenient to have a link right there. So.
Mm-hmm.
Will you be able to show you won't be able to use the merch shelf yet, will you? I think
the which
well,
I don't know.
There's a certain number of subscribers I think you have to have, but under, like, if you look under mine, the products actually show up under my.
Yeah, that I don't know. Like, I'm gonna set it up probably this weekend. There was something, I don't remember what. There was something we talked about that you need more than 10,000 subscribers.
I think that's the merch shelf. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that won't be available to me.
Yeah.
She was very sweet about it. She's like, "So how many subscribers do you have right now?" And I was like, 105,
100.
you know, something like that. And she's like,
very dedicated, but
so
very
on your
dedicated
way.
subscribers.
I was like, sure. Okay.
Say, I've got one
I guess.
subscriber that'll just buy everything, so don't, they're very dedicated.
So, yeah, exactly. It's
Buy
105.
multiples of everything.
One subscriber, 99 accounts.
Yeah, these aren't like me paying for weirdo like sock accounts. Like these are motivated customers. So.
Yeah, the only problem, because I did the whole thing with Kaya and everything. I think it's really cool, but right now, it's like the only online marketplace that only offers like one image. And when you try to do like the stuff I'm doing with the Comic Maker Toolkit, you can't get across what it is in one image.
No.
So I'm worried that it's hurting my sales because they'll click on that and then they'll go there and they'll just see that one thing. It's just like, what is this?
Yeah, and she was acting like they're going to add multiple.
I hope
$35.
They've gotten that feedback.
Yeah.
But I saw like when she was showing me examples of like their best and brightest playing with this.
Yeah.
You could see what they were doing is for their one image, they were basically photoshopping some amazing collage, to like, so you can see, basically to play the role of multiple images. But I'm assuming sooner rather than later, they're going to allow you to at least add 3 pictures or something, that you can flip through. But what I'm looking forward to is right now, and she didn't say this was coming, but she also didn't not say it was coming. Right now, if it's a digital project, it's all taken care of on the Kaya side, which is cool.
But
they
you
get a
don't do
5%
digital.
cut, which I think is pretty reasonable.
Oh, that's
great. Yeah,
that's the best deal in town. Like a lot of the marketplaces I'm on, it's 50%.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So like, and it's all through there. You see what you're buying. It's a PDF or something. You download it. You pay and that's awesome. If it's a physical product, basically what it's doing is it's gonna like link you to whether it's Shopify or Etsy or whatever, which is still nice. It's still like, okay, well, I'm consolidating a little bit. But for me, the dream is to just basically be doing everything on YouTube. Like just have my store on YouTube and like handle all my stock on YouTube. Like I don't need them handling comics, but like I would rather just not have to deal with Etsy or Shopify or whatever at all.
I don't think they take a percentage on the physical stuff either, which is
they
crazy.
don't, because all they're doing is linking it.
Right.
They're just linking like someplace else, so they're not taking a percentage right now. So that's okay. But I asked, like, so someday are you going to add like basic physical product shop features? And she was kind of like, it's something we're talking about, and I can't really, like it was this very slippery, like you can tell behind the scenes, it's like they would probably like to do that too, but they're not close to saying like, yeah, this is coming.
Yeah. The other thing is, and I don't
Elon Musk gonna buy them?
deep into this stuff, but like,
I don't know if Elon Musk is going to buy that. I don't think even Musk could buy Google, right? I don't think that's a
I
thing.
think so. He had some
I don't
trouble.
He's
buying
trying to buy Twitter. I don't know.
I think
He's
if you look at the
trying.
cost that he's having to bid for Twitter, and you just think about the size of a company like Twitter compared to Google, there's no one person who could buy Google. Like,
Right.
No.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Even he is making it out like paying what he offered for Twitter would be tough.
Yeah.
You would have to liquidate a lot, and he would have to because there's like his on paper net worth, but then there's like what it actually, because it's all tied up and stuff. Like for him to actually come up with that mountain of cash to buy it, like that's very hard to do. I have a feeling like then Google would be like a non-starter. That's not even like.
I mean, I also don't know why Google would sell, or who would be crazy enough to try to do an offer for their value, because they're like I know stocks have dipped recently and stuff, but like Google is like, yeah, I mean, it's one of the biggest there is,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like even to the point where like Bezos, who's up there with like, and owns Twitch, it's like he wouldn't hold a candle to YouTube, like on like what it would cost. like,
Oh yeah. No, it's I mean, I think I read that Apple is supposedly the highest valued company in the world. I don't know where Google shows up in the rankings, but it's got to be close behind. I mean, I can't imagine.
Oh, go ahead.
Trying to cycle it back into comics. I also forgot to mention that I'm a co-publisher of a new printing company, an imprint of Maui Comics that's currently being set up somewhat. I mean, we're kind of in the stage where we're just putting out zines here and there, but I hope to eventually have my graphic novel be like the flagship title of this new publication company, this indie comic.
That was something I discovered just in the past few years, was the whole zine scene. And it's really fun. It's really interesting. There's actually, we're lucky enough in Phoenix to have a shop that it's like a zine shop. That's all they sell.
Where's that?
It's a Wasted Ink zine distro. It's I think it's on like 16th Street, a little north of McDowell, I believe.
Really?
Yeah. And that's all it is. And it's crazy to walk through because it's all just indie randos who had an idea for a zine, and most of them, it's so like old school cool, where it's like you can tell they're like Xeroxing shit at the store and stapling it together. Yeah, it's a lot of just like this very handmade stuff. There's one in particular I want to show you, but like any topic you can think of, and because of the cultural scene it is, it's all these like very usually unrepresented voices. So you can go in there and you can find somebody's weird cookbook. You can find tips on how to like eat into brownies. You can find LGBTQ stuff. You can find like, it's just every random like whatever. But the only thing that's not in there is anything totally mainstream written by white men. And that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to go in there. It's like, I just like just the things that people will be like, I'm going to write a zine about that.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing. But I want to find one real quick while you guys talk.
Hey guys, I'm going to eat lunch, but I'll be listening, but I'm going to.
All right.
I have this book on how to make zines. It's a resource.
Nice.
So Stolen Sharpie Revolution. So if wants to get more information, you can pick up books like this.
I love it. Like when I lived in Portland, like zines were kind of the thing. Like they're like almost every cartoonist I knew including ones who were doing stuff for like Fantagraphics and like Dark Horse and stuff like that. Like most of them cut their teeth doing zines. And then like, you know, the one thing that was kind of a turnoff about the whole zine scene there. So if you're starting a zine scene, maybe use this as a tale of caution.
That's
was
fun
that
to
like
say. Zine scene.
Yeah. There were a lot of
Zine
people
scene,
who were like Portland famous for doing zines, and like no one knew who they were, you know, and like they were like Portland famous, and they'd get kind of heady about it and like almost like arrogant and kind of weird about it. So there's like, it's like any hipster scene where you have like when I love punk rock. I've been into punk for like over 20 years. And it's like there's always been this side of punk rock that kind of sucks, and then a side that's great. The side that sucks is the one that gets all like, oh, we're our club, like you can't be a part of this, and it becomes non-inclusive. And the whole point of punk rock is it's kind of inclusive, and it's just kind of a collective middle finger to the mainstream.
Right.
And the second it loses that, it loses the whole thing. It just becomes like the popular kids, you know, all over again. So I think like a healthy zine scene needs to like counterbalance itself, so it doesn't get like similar to like the art gallery scene where it can become its own kind of smug thing. But I will say all the cartoonists I knew in Portland who like are now working for like Scholastic, one of them has books out through like Drawn and Quarterly. Like these are all people who just started with like photocopied, you know, mini comics, and you know, it's like it's
got my collection here.
Yeah, zine culture is amazing because
it's
it literally gets rid of
explore that store.
Yeah.
I'll post a, because I think they sell their books online too. I'll post a link to the place, but real quick, I'm gonna go. There's one in particular I want to show off if I can find it. I don't know where I scrolled it away. I'm gonna check the living room. While I'm doing that, you guys should go around and do your self promos, like just because it's something that Josh, you're very good about having people do, and I forget about it every time. So please pitch whatever you're gonna pitch, and I'll be right back.
All right, cool. I'm gonna pitch for Scott since Scott stepped out. So you guys should definitely be following CircWorks on YouTube. Oh, Scott, come back.
I forgot. I'm gonna make an announcement here on Gary's channel. Young and the Dead 5 is complete. It's,
yes.
So it's
all right.
I just wrapped it up. It's print ready. I just don't know. I might not. I don't know if I want to.
When can I bootleg it?
Can you boot? Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna. It might be June before I launch a Kickstarter, just because I don't want to do it in May because you know there's Free Comic Book Day and the convention and everything.
Oh, okay.
So. But
June is my birthday month, so it's a good month for comics.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm hopefully run a Kickstarter for May, and like I said, it's done. So even once the Kickstarter runs, I'm hoping to ship it out like really fast after that. So, but yeah,
so exciting.
Yeah,
that's huge, Scott, and it's been fun. This ties into like what we were talking about, what Chase was talking about, where it's like you kind of. I've known you for a while now, and it's like it's fun when you know someone for a while and you see them just chipping away at this thing.
Yeah, it's
and then eventually they become like these real things, and it's so fun to see because like that's all just a product of like showing up and trusting the process. It's exciting, man, because you literally have like what, one issue left after that, and then the whole. That's pretty good.
And I'm looking forward to getting started on that too. So. You know, now that the script's already written, so I mean, I can just dive into it. I don't have to, you know, the script usually takes the longest part for me because the drawing is just, I've been drawing for so long, but the writing is stuff it's not necessarily second nature to me. So
that's huge. I'm glad you made that giant announcement while Gary was gone. I think we should not recap it for Gary just to mess with him as he's returned.
All right, I'm gonna bow out again.
Rewatch it.
So I wanted to show to me, which are, I have like all sorts of zines I picked up at this shop, you know, and they're squirreled all over. But the two that I think just give a good cross section of the weird things you'll find. So this is one that was actually written by the woman who owns it, she's great, Carissa. Memoirs of a Liar. And basically each page, and I guess it begs the question, like, are these real or not? They have an air of real to them. Each one is like a little blurb about some past love. Like just, and like no one's named, but like, and like some are as simple as like, he watched me throw up on myself drunk. He turned out to be too Christian for me. And like that's all. It's a whole book of these, just like little bits of like some past love, past encounter, past whatever. It's like a whole book. But this is the one that I think is just amazing. This is the kind of weird stuff you'll find in the zine shop. This woman sews together basically like a little tiny comic. This is by hand felt, and when I bought this, it was the last one. She'd only made 5, and she was never going to make any more. It was like the whim of like, I want to make 5 of these.
It's so good.
And it's just a book of like dangerous things. And what sold me on it, I was going through and it's like, okay, like tornadoes, poison, but like you go through and at one point it's like the police, like I just also, and I saw this thing in there and I was like, I have to have this. I have to have this on my shelf like this. And just on the coffee table, this weird felt hand stitched and hot glue gun together book of like this woman, she didn't even sign it. Like it's not even, it's just like, I wanted to make these, I'll make 5 of them.
Art, and
now I'm going to move on to the next thing.
That's so good.
So you know Keith Harper, right? Davy Rocket Almanac. All right, so I had done the 30 Days of Making Mini Comics challenge, and he hopped on, and he made a collage mini comic, which he just put together, and it's I think it like he put some blacklight in it, so like you could use a blacklight, and it's like one of a kind thing. Like he only made one, so like that's like the
like the Wu-Tang album,
like what you can do with zines and mini comics. So like, and he had videos, but I think he unlisted them. Yeah, if you ever have him on or talk to him, like ask him to show it to you because he did a really great job with it.
That sounds awesome.
I think he made another mini comic based off of that because he got inspired. Because I think what it was the WoW network. So a lot of conspiracies and paper hats. So he was writing it as if he was in the mental institution. So like the
nice.
Creativity that went into it was like it's pretty rad. So
that's so cool.
I love mini comics and zines. So.
I'm loving the
comments. Just for anyone who might be a little curious if they're watching now or watching the replay.
Yeah, I saw the link.
It's wizd-az.com. That's the link to Wasted Ink. That's the there you go. The zine shop in Phoenix, Arizona. I was wrong with Scott. I think it used to be on 16th Street. Now it looks like it's like on 9th Street in Roosevelt. If you're local, you'll know where that is. It's downtown Central Phoenix.
That gives me hope, man. I mean, like if people can have like a zine resource center in Arizona,
right in Phoenix, Arizona, like I mean that it
like Portland has like their zine, you know, the IPRC or whatever, which is awesome.
I need to see if we have one here. So
it really is.
Frank,
Texas
has got some zine culture. I don't know about in your territory, but I guarantee you in Austin, there's probably like 50 million zine things.
Yeah, like I know Texas in general. Yes, here I'm not too sure. There was a little gallery that was trying to start stuff like that, but they didn't last long. They even did the 24-hour comic challenge one time, but they went out of business after a couple of years. But yeah, I want to see if there's something local here. I know I'll have to check out Austin and some of the other places next time I'm there.
Yeah,
dude.
They're really fun, and I'm glad, Chase. I'm glad you brought it up because I don't know if I ever would have thought to bring it up on the stream as like a thing that people, but especially if you're, and this was me, if you like indie comics, and somehow like the whole zine thing has kind of slipped by you didn't know that was a thing. You're gonna love the zine thing. Like it's so like these are natural allies. Natural, like it's a natural, like these are like the cousins to the family. It's the same kind of thing. So like you definitely want to check it out.
Dude, that's awesome. Oh, by the way, Frank, you should do South by Southwest. You should just like booth there or something. I don't know though. I guess I'm making the big mistake though. That's like you
Is that in
saying
Austin?
you're in California. You should go to Northern California.
Right.
You know, it's a
Where
bit of
is
a trek.
That's Austin, right?
Yeah.
And where are you, Frank?
Oh, okay. I'm down out in South Texas. I'm closer to. Well, I just came from Corpus, and even that's like 3 hours away from here.
Nice.
Either
And what's your social
even
security,
further
Frank?
down.
Right. No, I mean your specific address. What is like?
Oh, okay. I'll just type it in the chat. Hold
Yeah,
on.
could you just?
Someone was asking me about it.
I'll share it on the screen. And then,
All right, cool. So there.
but before I do it, before I post it, just to make sure it's you, could you also give me the last 4 digits of your social security?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, okay,
That's
yeah.
true. And what's
Hold
your
on.
mother's maiden name too? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
easy. That's the.
What was the name of your first pet? Your first car?
Oh, hold on. I'll just send you the PDF. So some guy was already asking me that, so I just made a file for him here.
That's right. Was that the Nigerian prince that reached out?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought I was the only one. I thought, you mean that
I would have
that
You guys-
pay
$1 million
more for
is
Zine
not
than
coming?
Have you guys ever thought like we should do, because we're all streamers, you know, we should do a stream
We're all
where we
influencers.
come up with a fake premise, like for people who aren't watching this current Gary Hodges stream, right? They
Yeah.
would have no idea. We should do one where we're all like, I don't know. The problem is, could we play it straight? Where we could all talk about this opportunity that came up in art from a Nigerian prince that we're all really excited about, and
Right.
just talk about it like as if
I-
we've wholesale bought in. And if people are in the like chats being like, I don't know,
Just
this
saying,
sounds
like,
like a
what is-
scam, just be like,
No.
no, there's no
No.
way. This is totally legitimate. Are you
Right.
saying me? I've been in the
Someone
industry
could
for
actually
over
reach
20
out
years.
and
I would
be
know a
like,
scam, right? Like,
Mhm. It makes me think again about Chris Ward's and my Hollywood producer story, where it was sort of like that, like fortune that we were never swept up in it, but it was like if we like some people might have been like it was a whole thing, but we could
I
have been
think-
famous.
I think we should. I think we should plot this out. That'll be after the Little Mermaid streams.
The Little Mermaids.
Yeah.
That's right.
I do want to do that. So Gary, comb your hair, brush it on the stream.
Yeah, I really rolled. I
Look at this,
literally I rolled out of
isn't
bed. I
it
made
neat?
myself some breakfast and I sat down. Like this was a slow start today.
That's
So
okay.
I'm giving the
Similar.
11-minute warning. I'm gonna go off at 1 o'clock my time.
Smart.
Just
So
gonna
I've got
go
my page
off
set
on
up.
all
I got
of
my
us.
dialogue laid out. Now I'm
Ah.
circling back to page 10 to finish page 10.
Wait, are you circling back or circling back?
Circling. What?
That was a stretch for a
Circling.
plug for Scott.
It was a little bit of a stretch. Yeah. So,
Are you Scott
we do-
being around?
So since we're gonna be wrapping soon, I don't think Chase plugged his stuff yet, or
We're gonna
Frank.
wrap
Oh,
up?
Chase.
So
share your Instagram. Actually, let's see. I'll put
Actually-
it in the comments. Let's see here.
Yeah, I don't have very much to plug. I don't have a web store or anything. Though to be honest, I've always kind of considered myself an anti-capitalist type of, artist anyways. So there's just my Instagram and my Gmail. So if you want to throw money at me to draw something, if I agree to it, technically I could. But I kind of focus strictly on putting the time into creating the book itself.
Mhm.
And anything that's business related, peripheral to that, I worry long after.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's honestly that's sort of my approach too. I don't really worry about it's all about the process and making the thing for me, and the rest of it is, I have to admit, kind of not interesting to me.
Yeah.
That's partly the gratification of starting a new publishing company, is that there's so many other outlets for distribution, getting it out there to people firsthand. That's partly why I'm more trusting of Comic Cons that are friendly to the people that put out the zines versus the Comic Cons that have more of a, you know, almost echo chamber, not too dissimilar to the gallery world where they're appeasing a very certain demographic, and it's not so much about comics at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's something that Scott and I have sort of watched happen to the Phoenix Con, where I think we both had the same historical experience, where I remember when Phoenix Comic Con was mostly guys with long boxes and even longer beards, just like, you know, like, this is all my, you know, here's all my Silver Surfers, you know, and it was very, like, on conference tables, it was very old, and like some collectible figures. And now it's basically like San Diego Comic-Con mini. Like, it's about movies, it's about celebrities, it's about, like, it's a whole different thing. Still cool, still fun, I still like to go, but I feel like it's less and less about comics. And
Yeah.
it's more and more about
Like IPs, you know,
movies.
just
Yeah,
pumping up
IPs. Yeah.
publicity.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the thing that I'm finding really cool, I had a similar approach, Chase, and like it's only now really in my career where this stuff's starting to pay off. So it's like a long road to it, but right now, like, I'm more committed than ever. If like I were talking to somebody who wanted to make graphic novels, I would definitely give the advice of like, make a really good book, like commit to that, then like maybe look for literary agents, and then from there build it out. But it's like I wouldn't bother with the like trying to get a deal before the thing. Make the thing first, make it the best you can, and then it's like stuff happens. Like I've had books like Jacobs was a book that I thought was never going to get published, that I had just made the best I could, and then and now it's coming out in like in a month, and it's like
just a few weeks, right?
Yeah. So it's like, well, in June 7th, so about a month, but it's like
June. Okay.
Yeah, it was supposed to be May, and then
That's
there was
what
the
I
paper shortage. Yeah.
Paper shortage. Paper shortage is screwed up. I got an artist edition, like a Judge Dredd artist edition. I ordered like a year ago that I'm still waiting on because of paper shortage. But,
yeah, and I think it's all just the shipping fiascos that are going on, and I don't know. It's a headache for retailers, but anyhow, I think that's the right approach. Is like, just make the best book you can make. Because here's the thing too, if you get a deal and then you don't make the best book you can make, you'll end up with a book that probably won't do all that well, or even if it does do well, it's not going to be fulfilling to your soul, because you're going to be like looking at it like, I could have done that better. You know, like, make the best thing you can make.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I think
inevitably,
part of being a creative is like, no matter what you do, eventually you're gonna be like, I wish I could have done that better. but like, there's an acceptable level of that. Like,
like Gary, when you look back on something though, and it's like you did it the best you could at the time.
Yes.
You don't like. There's a different feeling of like
that's
pride in the work.
It's not like, about it being as good as it could possibly be,
exactly,
or as good as you could do it today. It's within the time I had, with the tools available to me, with the skill level I had at the time. Is that the best I could have done? Like that, you can live with. Like, I look at DvsM 75, and there are things that if I had to do it today, totally I would do differently. But I'm content because I know I left it all on the court 3 years ago or whenever that was. You know, like, and that's all you
went to court.
Oh boy. See, this is why I'm only fleetingly pleased with Frank. Like, just
I was like, you had me on.
That's true. It's my fault, really. I'm to blame here.
That's what Aaron said. That should be my next series. Sparingly Pleasing with Frank. It'll be my autobio series. Infrequently Pleased with Frank.
Infrequently Pleased. That is a good. That could be an album name. I think, like, Infrequently Pleased.
I like that as a show. It'd be like, welcome to Infrequently Pleased with Frank. I'm Frank.
There's something. That's not.
That's when I don't do that. Yeah, that'll be when I when I'm just streaming on my channel without Anna, I'm just like, it's welcome to
But I feel like
Frank.
it should be like introed where you're sitting in front of a fireplace with like your legs crossed and you're drinking tea or something. There's like actual smoke coming out of the tea, and you're just like, "Welcome to Infrequently Pleased with Frank. I'm Frank." And then everything you say should start with, "So to be frank."
Oh, God.
I'm sorry.
Just pun your way through the whole thing, and
Frankly.
just watch your subscriber count. Just
I love that. And frankly,
be-
I don't
There
think
would
that
be
to
one
be frank.
episode, and
yeah, one, and then just the crater immediately.
okay,
All right, so we're at 3 minutes.
plummets.
What's left that people need to get out there?
Oh yeah,
Alright.
Frank, did
I guess
you?
I'll plug my stuff.
Yes.
No, that's why I put it in the chat so you can find me. It's not Art Nation.
Oh, let's see here. Where are you?
You can find me at Salazar Art Nation on YouTube and on Instagram. I'm lately I've been doing like some updates of stuff that I've been doing, but I'm gonna be doing some other regular videos like I usually do. The Turaco Crave Cast right now is on hiatus, but we'll be coming back hopefully May. So I think that's when we'll start streaming regularly again. And we are. I already got the Captain Goggles and Mascoman comic made. Right now it's at the printer, so they also had a delay because the guy that's doing it, it's like one person formatting everything and doing everything for that local printer. So I will put on a list. So, but he should be starting on formatting the comic by this week or this coming week. So it should be done before April is over. And then that's when I'll get copies and I'll put it up on my Etsy. It'll be 100 copies. I'm gonna do the Gary Hodges way and keep a couple here for me, like some to give away and some just to kind of have a little stash. Then sell the rest. I'll probably sell them in increments because I don't want to put like 80 some copies on Etsy and then I get like flooded with orders and I can't like ship them out all at once. so I'll probably do in sections. And
Excellent.
I think that's pretty much it for now.
Cool. Yeah, I'm for anyone tuning in late, I'm just waiting on placing my reorder until I see how this cover contest goes, because I don't want to spend my own money if I could potentially win credit, and then not need to order for
So they
anything
would
for a
send
while.
they would send it to another printer, like the printer you use, or
No, like
How
the
does
people
that
doing
work?
the contest are my printer. So
oh, okay.
yeah, it's Comix Well Spring, which I've always been like super happy with, and no matter what, I'm going to print with them. I just want to see like how the contest turns out, because I think first prize is like 150 in credit, and they might even be a second prize of like 50 in credit or something like that. And I figure with only 5 people, like, and feeling like the cover's not terrible, I think the odds of at least coming in second are not bad. So I should wait. I should wait to see how that goes.
I almost submitted to that.
Yeah.
Then I lost
I don't
track
think
of
a lot of
time.
people did. I mean, because even I don't even know how I.
Because I had a great cover
one post.
that Anna did. Oh wow.
Squatch should have.
Yeah, I had a great cover that Anna did, and I was gonna submit it, but I was thinking I should probably tell Anna, and then like I hadn't talked to her in a while, and then like, the time I knew like everyone was already chosen, so like okay, well, never mind. So.
Yeah, I feel like, and that's also why I'm a little optimistic about my odds. It's like I feel like they didn't promote it very well. So
I will say
if
the
I can
odds.
get the word out, maybe that'll be enough. Like,
Yeah, the odds will be a lot better if everybody in chat right now goes and votes for Gary's Dinosaurs versus Marsbots,
Right.
and maybe they
Well, I believe
accidentally
there's-
click like vote maybe 5 or 6 times.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying they should, but I'm not saying that.
I'm not
if
saying
they
they
did,
should.
Yeah.
I'm just making people aware that there does not seem to be an IP address check.
Yeah.
It appears you can vote over and over. I don't think you should do that. But
yeah,
it's
Frog Breaker in chats.
It's something that can be done, and I'm not the boss of you. I'm not your dad. Like whatever you can live with. It's between you and your God, man. Like I don't know, but
it's also a badass cover, as Fogbreaker Studios said. So yes, you guys should go look at it.
He was talking about Anna's cover.
I promoted it last week. Fogbreaker Studios, Jason, he's got his first book up for sale on his Etsy.
Ooh.
Jason, you want to drop the link in the chat?
I need to buy that.
I ordered my copy. Apparently it's shipped. So I can't wait.
I'm actually writing down.
I need to order that. It looks really good.
Yeah. No, it sounds really. The bits I've seen are great. It sounds very interesting. It sounds like it's a mix of like basically sequential art, poetry, like little essays. Like I mean, he did it all himself, which is exciting. Like to sit and as a writer and artist, I'm a fan of writers and artists. The people who do the whole thing. So like I'm excited to see what he came up with.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the link.
Yeah, where's the link? Jason, come on. Promo.
Get in there, Jason. If not, I'm imagining the link will be in his Instagram as well. So make sure you guys are following.
Probably, and like actually, I know you can find it on last week's Always Workin' Squatch.
Ooh, I love it.
Because I think I have it in the description there, and I mentioned it there, but I don't know if he's still on. I don't see anybody watching at this very exact second. You know what? I'm just gonna pull it. Hold on, just one sec. I'm gonna find it.
Hey Gary, while you're pulling that, I still haven't mentioned my plug, so I'm gonna mention one.
Okay.
Just if you guys are in Canada, or if you're in like New York, Michigan, like that kind of area where Toronto's not like a big trek, I'm going to be at TCAF in June, and so like toward the end of June, the Toronto Comics Festival, signing books and selling copies of Jacob's Apartment at the Graphic Mundi booth, and so I would love to like meet people from our audience and our groups and stuff like that. So if you guys are in that area, make sure you're, checking out joshuakemble.com events, because there will be signings and all sorts of fun stuff like that coming up relatively shortly. So yeah, that was my one plug. Sorry, Gary.
No, that's great. That's great. So down here, I've got, this is the tiny URL that should take you to Jason's shop. So if you want to, I think it's like $15, which is very reasonable for the page length and the amount of work you're getting. Like, I think it was free shipping on top of that. So that's pretty good. That's not bad. So yeah, at least go and take a look. And I know you got $15. You got $15 somewhere. Like, so maybe support a fellow indie creator. And
I'll have $15 this week. I'm waiting on some money.
There you go. If you don't have $15 now, you know $15 are coming. Don't tell me you don't have $15. I don't care who you are. If you're on YouTube right now, on a computer,
you have $15.
Living your life of privilege. Like, I know you have $15. You can buy them.
If you can afford YouTube, you have.
I like Gary how Gary's pitch starts kind of soft, and then by the end of it, it's like, give me the $15. You're gonna give me the $15.
Come on now, come on, cough it
You're
up.
like,
I know you.
And
got
if you don't cough up the $15, it'd be a shame if something happened.
Yeah. Shame something happened to your YouTube account.
If something happened to your wallet.
Gary, Gary, I feel like Gary Scott, maybe Frank, you guys might know this reference. Do you guys remember like the terrible like One Crazy Summer?
I want my $2.
Yeah, I want my $2.
Yeah,
I love that.
No, that was
Or was that Better Off Dead?
That was Better Off Dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Better Off Dead.
I always confused the
$2,
two.
The
Okay.
Paperboy. The
Yeah.
Paperboy from Hell.
Yeah.
I
It's so
loved
great.
that movie when I was
Oh,
a
yeah.
teenager. I haven't watched it in years. I don't know if it holds up, but I really
It doesn't, but like it does. It does because it doesn't.
So that was great. Better Off Dead. And
Well, anyways,
it was
if
such
you have
an 80s
$15.
plot. What
Yeah.
was it? The 80s plot was this kid, John Cusack, when he was a teenager. His girlfriend leaves him for the cool blonde skier guy in town.
Yeah.
Like he's and John Cusack's gonna win her back by beating blonde skier guy in the big ski thing.
Yeah.
Like it's the like lamest.
And of
80s
course his like buddy who's training him in skiing is like a druggie who
He's
is
like a drug
snorting
addict.
snow as if it is actual cocaine.
Yeah, what was the reason? Oh, because they live in some small town where he can't get cocaine, so he's snorting snow. Like that was the thing. And he's got, and also the very 80s cheesy movie love interest where
Okay.
his next door neighbor, who's a total awful, like malignant nerd, has like this exchange student, this gorgeous little French girl as an exchange student. And so the whole movie, you're like, why are you chasing the young blonde when you could be dating the cool French chick next door?
Yeah.
So like, I mean, but it's all the execution. It's very silly and playful and dumb, and like it's kind of funny. The story. Oh, but my favorite. Remember, there was the two
race
guys
cars?
the drag races.
Yes, yeah. Lane Meyer. Like so they
Yes.
actually have
But they were like. They didn't even speak, or they learned how to speak English by watching Wide World of Sports. So
Yes.
from listening to Howard Cosell.
so they
They would always pull up next to him, and they had like this. I don't know.
the passenger, like, so the driver is like, you know, in his like racing mode, right?
Putting
and then
on
the
his
passenger has like a bullhorn they have a bullhorn attached to the top of the car.
Yes.
And he's doing like racing announcements like
Yeah.
at every red light. So he'll be like, in the left lane, there's Lane
Right.
Meyer.
And like I think part of the plot was like, I don't remember where they're like Asian guys that I think they're like, one guy doesn't speak English at all, and the one other guy who does learned it from watching Howard Cosell.
Yes,
So like he
yes.
sounds exactly like a sports announcer. It's like it was
the dumbest
a
movie.
very well executed, terrible idea.
Yes.
You know, like the whole movie was like,
Yeah.
it was just a dumb 80s plot, but it was very funny and it had a lot of personality. You know, like it was,
Kind of sounds
Yeah,
like something Jim Wuhan would animate, you know, from hearing the description.
totally. Yeah, especially the drag racers. That felt like that could be a Lujan thing. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have just a soft spot. I don't know. This might be just the fact that I was an 80s kid, but it's like, you know, like if I see any, like John Cusack to me is still the epitome of cool. And like, it like High Fidelity, like all,
High
everything.
Fidelity.
Yeah.
So
But
great.
like Say Anything is one of those ones where if I meet somebody who hasn't seen Say Anything, I'm like, okay, well, we need to work on that.
You
Because
gotta watch Say Anything.
you have to see Say Anything. But I also love all the corny stuff from the 80s too that he was in. It's just, I don't know. That's my favorite stuff.
Of those three that we named, though, High Fidelity is 100% my fave.
Gross Point Blank.
And I think about High Fidelity regularly. The only thing I will say is, at least in my opinion, I don't know if you guys would agree, I don't know, it doesn't age as well as I hoped. Not like Better Off Dead, which just didn't age because it's like an 80s movie and it's kind of stupid. But like it aged, I think, in terms of like maturity, where like I find Rob, John Cusack's character in High Fidelity, less sympathetic as I get older. Like he feels like kind of like an idiot, you know,
Yes.
and that's the only thing that diminishes it a little bit, where it's like you come on, like you look at him, and no offense to anyone who's this age, as I was this age, we were all this age, but like sometimes it's like you sound like a 25-year-old guy, right?
Yeah.
You know, and that's where High Fidelity is kind of like aging for me, where it's like, this sounds like young
A
guy
kid.
problems to me. Yeah, where it's
The thing that I think retains it, and this is something I always consider, it's something I don't want to keep you though, like, but it's like
Oh, I think.
The
Are you?
oh, did I freeze?
Yeah, no, your sound dropped out. Now I think you're back though now.
Okay. Okay. So one of the things that I love about High Fidelity that I think does hold up. Oh, I think I might have frozen again. Oh no.
Well, your picture is frozen, but I hear you.
I can hear you.
What a weird internet issue.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can still hear my audio, I'll just finish the thought.
Oh.
Okay. So one of the things, okay, I guess I'm back. Thank you,
Yes.
Spectrum Internet. So one of the things that like I think makes it somewhat hold up is the fact that the character is still very flawed and you're not kind of supposed to like him.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the thing that I think holds up about it is that like it's a story that was bold enough to have the character kind of be a terrible person.
That I love. I think specifically because I rewatched it, I think just like a couple years ago because I do love it.
But I agree with you. It does feel like a young man's perspective where it's just like
it's a young and the soundtrack's amazing. Like it's great. Like that's a great soundtrack to chase down. My thing about him, and this is fine, and I think for the right age man especially, it's a perfect movie to watch. Just like Swingers, for the right age man, is a perfect movie to watch. Like at my age, I watch Swingers and I still kind of love it and still think it's hilarious, but it's like this is a different time of my life.
Oh yeah.
Where like I can't. So High Fidelity, I think the thing that I check out a little bit now, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but like his final lesson, his final aha moment, like his finally like where he peaks, where he were like, okay, now I got it all figured out, to me is still like
unresolved.
Yeah, it's like that's not gonna last you so long, buddy. Like I appreciate that you're out of this one immature phase of your life, but you're just replacing it with the next immature phase of your life. And like, and I won't get into it because if you haven't watched it, like, you know, but don't get me wrong. Great movie. I love that movie. I own that movie and I rewatch it periodically. Like, I mean, I really enjoy it. I just find like more and more as I get older, it's like I'm finding it harder and harder to really be inspired by his journey, you know, where it's, I don't know, but.
No, I don't view it as an inspirational journey. I think, you know, there might have been a time in my life where I would have been like, those are lessons to live by.
There was definitely a time in my life where I thought like, oh, this is like just what I needed. This is like food for my soul, you know? And now it's like, well, I don't know. But it's still a lot of fun to watch. And
it's kind of like Catcher in the Rye. Like Catcher in the Rye, I still love as a book. But there comes this point where there's a point in life where I think, like, if my son's like 15 or 16 and he hasn't read Catcher in the Rye, I'm going to be like, you need to read Catcher in the Rye.
Especially at that age.
Yeah. There's
like, that's the age.
Yeah. But there's that weird transition where I think, like, after 22, 23, you start reading Catcher in the Rye and it starts evolving. By the time you're in your 30s and you're reading Catcher in the Rye, you're like, I mean, you're right, everything's phony, but what are you going to do about it, you stupid kid? Like, you're just kind of like, it's this frustrating rebel that we all have been, but it's like, why not maybe have solutions instead of just get all depressed and walk in the rain?
The same, not the same thing, but I have the same kind of just like, when should you read it attitude about On the Road, Kerouac's On the Road, where it's like, if you've somehow not read On the Road and you're like in your 50s, like don't read On the Road. Like you're not, or if you're 12, don't read On the Road. But if you're like 22, you know, like something like now On the Road, like it's now you're ready. Like now.
I shouldn't get for my 11-year-old.
What's that?
Oh, okay.
11.
I shouldn't get for my 11-year-old
for Kerouac.
Right. Oh, while we're talking about movies,
he just turned 11. I bought him a whole collection of Kerouac.
The whole, just in case.
Did you get him Ginsberg towel too? I mean, I'm just kind of curious.
This is my Jason. Jason. I consider a friend of mine. He's a really cool guy. I love to talk to him. And as a huge movie buff, as I consider myself, he is criminally deficient, criminally film illiterate. Like there's a lot of movies that have slipped by him. And so every once in a while I was like, you haven't seen what? And you got to watch, you must. Jason, if you're still here, have you watched Silence of the Lambs yet? You have to watch.
You haven't seen Bambi?
Skip Bambi.
None
Watch
of these
Silence
here,
of the
but-
Lambs. Today if you can. It's got to be.
Well, if we're
streaming.
talking, yeah,
Four people
'cause
have
that's-
his book in their cart.
yeah, that's
There you
a
go.
different kind
I
of
just bought
horror
one.
that I think you'd dig. It's like it's a unique, game-changing movie. Yeah,
It's a game changing, and what I was trying to impress upon him when it first came up
Yeah.
that he hadn't seen it.
were you trying to
it's
convince
not
him to
just a
put the
horror
lotion in
movie.
the basket?
Yeah, it's a legitimate film, like with legitimate human characters, with real like emotional journeys and arcs. Like it's there's a reason why it won all the Academy Awards. It's not just a serial killer movie. Like there's a lot of meat on that bone. You gotta watch it. It's probably, depending on the day you catch me, my favorite movie of all time.
The performances in that are like, yeah, it's
Really,
that is
yeah.
that's one of those weird movies where like it was like perfect casting, perfect direction,
Perfect.
insanely
Mhm.
brilliant. Yeah, just
Well
yeah.
written. Like, yeah, it was just everything came together.
I
But
feel like it's
Oh,
up
no.
there with The Shining, like where it's just
Oh, there he
like,
is.
you know, yeah, it's up
The
there.
Shining.
Yeah.
yeah. And on other days, if you ask me my favorite, it would of course be Empire Strikes Back. But on some days it would be Silence of the Lambs.
Weekend at Bernie's, too.
Or maybe
I love that you said two. Like
Or maybe
you took
Porky's
the one
2.
where
I
it's
thought
like, okay,
Porky's 2 really
I
mined
could stretch to
Porky's
Weekend at
time.
Bernie's.
Porky's 1 was an interesting
2.
idea, but Porky's 2 really executed. So
That's
I would
true.
say
Porky's Revenge.
I mean, you guys really you shouldn't
That's where it
forget
got
the
heavy.
batteries not included series. I mean, just while we're at
just throw in every bad, this terrible.
You're talking about Short Circuit,
Mhm.
and there is Barry's not included.
All right, guys.
Actually, I have an idea for, and this is true. I have an idea for a mini comic anthology, and I want to call it Batteries Not Included. So, nothing to do with the movie, but that's
Nothing to do with it. Just to keep that. Oh yeah, no, that's so, yeah, yes. The first one I realized he hadn't seen on a horror. He's doing a horror show with Ronnie.
Yeah.
Like he hadn't seen The Thing, the 1980 whatever John Carpenter The Thing.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is like, I mean, if you're gonna watch one horror movie, that would be like, I would say watch The Thing, you know. So we got that out of the way. He watched it, good. And then we were talking about something else, and Silence of the Lambs came up, and he's like, I have to admit, and I was like, just stop right there. Stop. Go and watch Silence of the Lambs.
I love it.
There we go. Ideally, yeah, I want a 5-paragraph essay.
I think if there is a downside to being a cartoonist, is
Why
that I don't have
love
nearly enough time to
lambs?
watch movies.
It is hard.
Yeah.
It is really hard.
Yeah.
Like you can't ask me about any show because I don't. The last show I think I watched all the way through was probably Game of Thrones or something. Like I don't.
I barely saw Encanto yesterday. That's because I was on vacation and I didn't have my stuff. They had Disney Plus. So I was like, I'm gonna watch the movies I haven't been watching.
Yeah. I did make time to go to the theater
I
and
recommend
see
Encanto. That's a good movie.
to see the Batman,
Oh, nice.
which I loved. I thought it was really good. So
How was
it's
it?
long. What's that?
You might want to mute me.
I was just barking.
And were you barking? Yeah. So yeah, the Batman's cool, and I'm eager to see the Northman. That's I think open. I think it opened this weekend, but I won't be seeing it anytime soon. But I want to see the Northman. Viking craziness, people swinging axes at each other. How can you go wrong? Robert Eggers, he's a great director. The Witch, The Lighthouse. My expectations are high. Okay. Anyone have any last words before I call it a day with this?
To bring it full circle from like the intro, it was brought up like we don't have time to watch movies because we're busy making comics. That is the best movie you can watch. Like Gary was saying, there comes a point when you're making these things, it all feels like labor. It's that point when you're writing and the paragraph starts writing itself. It's like that weird kind of cool point where you're like surprised by something that comes into your head that's like a thread you've been trying to tie or whatever. It's like the process of creativity is the most rewarding movie that you can make, and you get to see it in real time as it's being made. You don't have to watch like a behind the scenes thing. You don't have to watch a YouTube video. You can literally be the behind the scenes. And that's, I think that's the thing that keeps us in it. So I saw that little like thread there where it's like that to me is why it's worth not watching movies and making comics instead. And then if you have time, maybe watch Silence of the Lambs. Because if you haven't watched Silence of the Lambs, Jason, come on, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, come on, Jason. No, it's actually why, like, though I rarely have time to sit down and watch
Is this an ad for introverts?
It's an ad for
Watch
introverts.
movies.
There is,
Comics,
I do
loser.
find time, and I find it very helpful to watch making of stuff.
Yes.
Because I like watching any kind of creative work, even if it's not even related to comics, watching a music, like watching that Beatles documentary, watching them like in a room trying to figure out like how to like, you know, how the song's going to go, watching behind the scenes stuff, how they made a movie, how they're working on the costumes, no, we're going to edit this way. Like all that stuff I find just completely relatable, completely encouraging, and it helps you feel it. I think, and this is an important thing for creators, it helps you get in the mindset of a creator as opposed to a consumer of art.
Yeah.
I mean, watching a movie is great, or listening, going to a concert or whatever. That's great and it's important, and I think it fertilizes your creative soul. But you're consuming, and you want to be a creator. And I think, therefore, you need to surround yourself by either other creators or finding material where it's like people talking about their process, people talking about how they do things. I think it'll help you. It helps make you feel like you're a part of something. I encourage it. That's my 2 cents. But okay, guys, I appreciate you all coming on. It was a big group today. I think that's it. Maybe I'll see you guys next week. And Josh, maybe I'll pop into your stream sometime this weekend.
I love it.
Cool. All right, guys. I will talk to you all
It was
later.
good to be invited.
We'll see.
Have a good one.
Chase, welcome. And I hope to see
Josh
more of
doesn't
you.
allow guests anymore.
Josh doesn't allow
That's
guests
forbidden.
anymore. Yeah, Artcasters, I would consider a future episode with Chase. I think he's an
It was
interesting
good to
guy.
see
and
you,
his work-
Chase.
Chase down his Instagram. His work is really beautiful. So
Frank, on the guest thing too. I might be able to do streams with people because like the only problem is when I'm doing the research stuff, Gary, you'll know this too. It's like there's certain steps in the process that you just can't talk to people during, or I can talk about my thought as I'm doing it. But if I have another thought interrupting, it's just like not going to happen. I'm not going to make progress. I am at a point where I'm going to be flat coloring, and I do think I might be able to have some people on stream for that. So
I have to have a way to notify people, like maybe something on screen, like if that's open for people to pop in or not. Like
I'll message you guys too if
I'll get some
there's
debates
a
ready.
point where I can have people on.
some debates.
Yes, I'd love it. That'd be fun.
Are you guys? I wish I remembered the name. On Instagram, you should follow. It's something like Birds Are Fake. And it's this guy who's doing a fake, like he's not for real, but he plays it totally straight. The idea is that birds don't exist anymore. They're all robots made by the government. And he's always out with like signs and stuff. And he's like, have you heard about, and everyone's like, leave me alone, man. And he's like, the media, like it's keeping the truth about the birds out. So it's pretty fun.
What's funny about that, real quick, I know we're trying to get out of here, but so there's a park by my house and it's got lakes and stuff, and they've got these fake birds like ducks and stuff in there that are, I don't know, I think they're like meant for like cleaning or something, but they're just decorated like birds or something, or I don't know what the reasoning for. And my ex-girlfriend was like, those are fake. And I'm like, because there's real ducks there too. And I'm like, they're not fake. And so there was the whole, birds are fake. They're super fake. But they are fake.
You need to get a picture of one of these fake ducks and send it to this guy. He would I'm for sure he would share it. He's like, you see the proof right here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
next
it so
next
much.
week we'll debate whether birds
Or even the owls on people's houses.
yeah, to scare off other birds. Yeah.
There's a lot of those around here.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
love it. Thanks so much for having us on, Gary. It's been fun.
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's fun to see you all on a Saturday morning before I really put my head down. So
Thanks.
all right.